Hey, Miss Margaret, how are you? Hey, Jamie, how's my darling? Hey, Miss Monica, I am having some troubles tonight, so bear with me. I'm trying to get it going in both places here so I can see what in the world is going on. How's everybody doing tonight? Okay, I think I got that going. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Wow. Okay. Love you, baby girl. Are you gonna get to stay with me tonight, Miss Jamie? This is so weird. I've got my Chromebook going down here on the bottom. I've got my phone propped up. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing it through my phone. So, yikes. I'm trying to decide which is better. I think it's better this way for now. And I'm hoping I don't lose. I'm hoping it doesn't buffer on me. Can you guys see me okay? What happened to it? Ugh, frackers. Huh, there I is. Okay. Okay. I think we're good. I think we're good. I think we're good. Whew. It's hard to tell. I came back to this room to do the live because my router's right there. So I was having problems when I was doing it in my room, which is at the front of the house. So I'm just kind of trying to decide. Okay. Alrighty. We're going to be running a little bit late. Is my author in the house? Hello, Miss Serena. Alrighty. And my apologies if I don't say hi to everybody because there's no way. I'll miss way too many people. So, Daniel, are you going to be with us? Okay. Give it a few more minutes because I had some crazy everybody's got to find me with those other posts. I need to go delete those other posts. So let's see. What do I got? Nina's in the house. Okay. There's the good one. There. Did I do any other ones? Okay, maybe they didn't take. Okay. So I'm going to delete this one. Yes. Alrighty. Are you guys about ready? Freddy. Okay. We shall get started and see. So you guys keep coming and going too, don't you? Okay. Alrighty. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and anybody else that joins us. We'll just go from there. So, weird night. It's a full moon, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. So, let's get it started. Alright. It's going to be a paranormal kind of night. Oh, this should be good. It's of magic and lies. And do you guys remember last week with the hot fireman, Sidonia Rose's book that I showed you with the hot fireman that had, it was part of a box set. All right, this is another book in that box set. So it's going to be, it's really good. I'm liking it so far. But of course, I never get to finish them. But anyways, this one is of magic and lies. And it's called the NOLA, New Orleans, Louisiana Wars 1, Resurgence Book 1. So it's by Caia Daniels and April Canavan. Lord, I hope I got that name right. Alrighty. Yes, paranormal witches. Okay. And, yeah. Does anybody know Daniel? Okay, I guess he'll find me. Daniel K. Is it Quinn? Daniel K. Quinn, I think. You guys know who I'm talking about? AKA Caia Daniels. If somebody knows him, can you let him know we're on? Because he's probably gotten sidetracked. So I would really like for him to be here. But if not, that's okay. Because then when I mess up on the names, I mess up on the names. No big deal. And I feel like I'm talking up here, y'all. This is weird. So, okay. But then, you know, hey, it's me. I know it, sister. I'm so happy. I love NOLA. So, alright, this has got a kind of a prologue to it. So or a blurb. He does it with a blurb. He starts it off with a blurb. So that's what I'll do. And I'm going to screw up some names in here because he's got some with curly Q's and stuff on them. And I'm Georgia, so yeah. Okay. So, of Magic and Lies, NOLA Wars Resurgence Book 1. 3 men want her. 2 nations need her. 1 decision could destroy them all. Nina, I'm drinking my wine tonight. So, yeah, no water tonight is why. Deal with it. Okay, and Jerry, when you write the book, okay? All right. Adrienne Falcoa is torn between the magical nation she was born to rule and a war-ravaged country she has chosen to protect. Oh, yeah, something's happening, yeah. But it looks like it's okay there. Okay. Adrienne Falcoa is torn between the magical nation she was born to rule and a war-ravaged country she has chosen to protect. When NOLA grows restless without a queen, Adrienne's sister performs a precarious ritual to claim the throne that Adrienne refused, ultimately forcing the duty-bound witch to return home. Oh, people, if you know it's 8 o'clock, please don't send me messages. It messes everything up. I get messages everywhere, so. But that's okay. Demon Prince Eaton St. James has conspired for 5 years to bring his witch home. And now that Adrienne's back, he won't give her up without a fight. Even if it means taking a Declan Gale, a fey incubus that catches Adrienne's eye, and her curious human boyfriend, Pierce Cole. When three men vie for her affection, Adrian becomes entangled in a web of deception with an impending catastrophe at her heels. The clock is ticking to save her sister from making a mistake that could cost them everything. Lying lovers and a voodoo queen reluctant to reign can only lead to one thing: a supernatural disaster. Of Magic and Lies is book one of the reverse harem urban fantasy series Nola Wars 1 Resurgence. Who loves a good reverse harem? I know I do, and I know Miss Wendy does. Alright, chapter 1, Adrian. Obliterating bad guys gave me a magical high that lasted for days. Although, leave it to dead sisters to ruin the buzz. Whoever thought death was the end had never met Triss. You cannot escape your fate, Adriana. Triss gave new meaning to the term ghosted. I'd been hearing her warnings incessantly. Her haunting voice had been following me around for nearly a week now, which was a bad omen for an ancestral witch trying to avoid her magical legacy. Orisha, Triss corrected. The word tumbled around in my head. Orisha. It was an ominous revelation I dreaded because it meant my 5-year reprieve from the supernatural world was coming to an end. As much as I wanted to stay out of New Orleans witch politics, I knew that ship was sailing from port now that the ancestors had assigned an Orisha. Basically, Triss is responsible for ensuring I fulfill my magical destiny. Sometimes an Orisha is a dead relative, like mine, and it's a double-edged sword because she won't find peace in her afterlife if I don't fulfill my purpose here. Kind of unfair to us both, since I had no intention of becoming the voodoo queen of New Orleans. Who loves some Moscato? Not going back. Can't you just let it go? I knew talking to Triss sounded crazy, but I had nothing better to do while sitting in the Cobra waiting for the human traffickers to show. Peering into a pair of binoculars, I looked out into the dark alley. The west side of Chicago was mildly preserved, one of only a handful of neighborhoods not condemned after the last Civil War tore the United States into 3 independent countries. There was one for the Pios nut jobs, mostly responsible for these disgusting human trafficking busts, one for the normals who just wanted to live their lives in peace, and one for the unbeknownst to the humans was led by supernatural beings not of this realm. Go home, sis. Duty calls. Fuck duty, you're dead. Go haunt someone else. As much as I wanted to stay neutral, I couldn't deny that another storm was brewing, and I didn't have to be an ancestral witch to feel the energy darkening all around me. Between the buildings crumbling around us, the cracks in the pavement threatening to give way beneath them, most of the city had been abandoned. The darkened sky was just the icing on the cake. Tonight's weather was particularly foreboding. Felt like a merciless omen hunting me. Either storms or droughts plagued the earth now. Effects of both too many wars and too much environmental disregard that has set the world on an irreversible path toward destruction. Ironically, it was the supernaturals at the forefront of environmental intervention, having left their own realm in ruins for the same path as the humans here. Saving this planet was now front and center on their agenda. Unfortunately, their methods left a lot to be desired, if you ask me, and any other hybrid supernatural being. As I sat in my car, the sky was dark and ominous, threatening to shed its tears on the city I was intent on saving. And while I knew I couldn't save the planet, I could at least save some lives. Chicago was one of the few remnants of what used to be America. I rather liked the city I'd called home for the past 5 years, but humans had a way of destroying what they'd created. Something I'd sadly discovered after escaping New Orleans following the brutal deaths of both my mother and sister. I left the magical part of my life behind me then and never looked back. Well, sort of. A raindrop landed on my windshield as I peered out, arms resting on the steering wheel. It was winter, the first week of January, yet there was no longer snow. Not even Chicago, which was once known for its brutal winters. Now there was the only rain, lots of it. I watched with scrutiny as a single that is distracting. Sorry. I'm going to am I down to 2 people? Where's everybody? What's going on? Okay. I watched this with scrutiny as a single raindrop slid down the windshield. The sky was dark as nightfall took over the deserted city streets. One good part about waiting was being in my car, the only thing I held on to from my past. It was a gift from my father, whom I sent packing for his own good. Not being of the magical variety, he left the country after the last war tore it apart. Fortunately, Dad found happiness in Canada after it merged with the States that now encompassed what I called the normals. New America now consisted of Canada, Chicago, New York, most northeastern states, the Pacific Northwest, and California. After waiting for nearly an hour, I was getting bored. I blamed the adrenaline junkie tendencies of being a witch. These stakeouts could sometimes take hours. My contact was a federal agent I knew as AJ. She would give me time and locations, and I'd wait. When the missions went down, she sent people to take the girls to safety while I eliminated the problem. A dormant witch had to expend energy somehow. May as well be eradicating baddies. I'd gotten my hair colored earlier this afternoon, a necessary evil to hide the premature silver streaks that gave away my position in NOLA witch circles, a position I had no interest in accepting. Hands on the steering wheel, I watched out my windshield as the rain pelted the glass. Storms never lasted too long, but hopefully this one would last long enough to wash away the mess I was about to leave behind. My job as a DOI agent had much different duties since the last war. Or so my human boyfriend, Agent Pierce Cole, told me. The war was before my time, but a story still playing out in front of me. Tonight, however, I was on a different mission altogether. I'm just trying to make sure who's still here, because I keep losing people and I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it's some of the weather going across the nation, so sorry. Always watch it later. Okay. The war was before my time, but a story still playing out in front of me. Tonight, however, I was on a different mission altogether. Not working for the Department of Investigation, secretly hiding the supernatural affairs gone wrong in New America. Tonight's focus was on the human ones. Fucking Zions. Those hypocrites preached the sanctity of life, but had no problem destroying children's lives to further their cause. Just another unfortunate side effect of their dream country that basically enslaved women and children, forcing them to bend to the will of men who wouldn't think twice about raping, torturing, or killing them in the name of their religious freedom. As you may have suspected, most of the mothers and even many of the fathers got their kids out because those who were left became nothing more than breeders and slaves, which explained the ever-rising number of human trafficking busts. Too many for what was left of New America to actually do anything about. Thus, why I seem to be working 24/7 since I arrived. Saving children became my personal mission after finding AJ, a woman who, after getting lost in the system, managed to escape Zion herself. We'd never actually met, just spoke on the phone. AJ wasn't the sharing type. I couldn't blame her considering what I did know of her past. We worked with a small, secretive group, doing our part to rid the country of as much of the shit as we could, doing whatever we could to keep young girls safe and free. Young people need you at home. Your people need you at home, Triss cut through my mental ramblings. There are plenty of witches in NOLA. I rolled my eyes and tried to tune Triss out. Out of sight, right? She didn't even have the decency to show herself. Not Falcoa witches. Only you can rule NOLA. Thanks for the reminder, I grumbled. Before the Nehem created us, witches didn't even exist. Falcoa witches are the originals. The first witch line came from my mother's Falcoa bloodline, created by the Nehem Celestials to fight the same supernaturals they were responsible for bringing to our realm in the first place. But the Falcoa witches never asked for that power, and when humans learned of our existence, it instigated more than 200 years of witch burnings. So many witches died due to their blind loyalty to protect the Nehem, because along with our powers came fierce loyalty to the Celestials that sired us. Burning at the stake wasn't what anybody signed up for. So my ancestors fought for their freedom, and by the late 1800s, we were no longer under a supernatural spell to do the Nehem's bidding. As reparations, it was decided that witches would be the leading faction of Metas, aka ambassadors of all supernatural beings. As natives to this realm, our magic was a mixture of celestial and elemental. Being one of the few purebred mixture of celestial and elemental, being one of the few purebred original witches left, it's also why I personally expected to lead them now. I'm the eldest living Falcoa witch, so by default, I'm next in line to be high priestess. I just don't want to be. There's a whole sordid history of wars between the Metas that once lived in a different world, but that's a conversation for another day. Today, I just wanted to forget about the whole thing, especially since my sister wouldn't shut up. I will shut up when you go home. You know, most people take a vow of silence when they die. My arguing with my sister was interrupted when my cell started ringing. I was supposed to meet Pierce for dinner a half hour ago, and this was the third time this week I skipped out. Shit. Hey, babe. Sorry I know I'm late.
Been calling you for an hour now. Everything okay?
Pierce's low voice echoed. Yeah, I'm heading out soon. Nah. We missed our reservations. Just come by my place. We'll get a takeout. The ancestors need you now, Adriana. You cannot ignore this. I let out a sigh, irritated by my Orisha's nonstop prodding. Girls gotta eat, Triss. Lay off.
Who's Triss?
Concern rang in Pierce's tone. Sorry, ignore me. I fake laugh. So far, I'd kept my witch heritage a secret and only told Pierce about what he needed to know, which wasn't much. Okay, so you guys keep losing internet. Everybody keeps losing internet. It's got to be the weather. Rumors of witches were always floating around the human world, especially thanks to murders like the ones I was about to commit. Of course, I didn't consider my contributions to humanity murder, but rather justice, and maybe a little revenge. So, although fictional tales of demons, angels, vampires, and werewolves spun endlessly, pop culture had nothing on the truth.
You've been distant for days.
Pierce's voice broke through my musings.
It's getting hard to ignore.
It's just some stuff going on that I don't want to drag you into. It's probably best for me to go home and sleep it off. I'll see you at work tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
Good night. I pressed in, tossed myself on the gray leather seat beside me, then laid my head on my arms for a second, sucking in a deep breath. I closed my eyes and exhaled. Nia needs you. It's your destiny. If I go back, there's a chance I'll start a war. I won't be held responsible for that. The war has already begun. Staying neutral will only make things worse. Stop pretending this is about me. Lifting my head, I peered back through the binoculars, anxious for the fun to begin. You're right. It's not just about you. It's also about a celestial demon you still love. Even a reserved allusion to Eton St. James made my chest ache. I didn't just walk away from a legacy when I left Nola. I also walked away from the man I deeply loved. It's also about innocent humans you live amongst. Innocent witches you're responsible to protect. That's not even counting the vampires, werewolves, and fae. Each faction has a part to play. The witches need you. Don't turn your back on them. I can't get involved and you know it. The damn prophecy said, a royal line will fade from the light and embrace the darkness within. That's me. Us, our entire family, or what's left of it. So you will, what, just leave Nia to fend for herself? Our sister is fine. Don't be so sure. I spent a lot of time in denial, even I knew that. Nia, my younger sister by almost 10 years, was anything but fine. Since our ancestral power was linear, I took power when Triss died. All the power. My family's and our ancestral witches whose powers were hidden safely away inside the mausoleums behind the basilica in Nola. In my own head, I believed I could resist the temptation to meddle in darkness. I believed I could resist the temptation to meddle in dark magic simply by leaving the legacy of lies, betrayal, and destruction that I believed loomed over my childhood home. And it had worked pretty well so far. 5 years as of Mardi Gras. Much is happening you know nothing of. Triss intruded on my thoughts. This is not a choice. You can't hide from this, no matter how many colors you dye your hair. I glared out the tinted window and pursed my lips. You've already been given the throne, Triss said. You're sovereign of the witches, whether you want to be or not. If you don't believe me, just look in the mirror. You can't deny what's staring you in the face. Twisting the rearview mirror, I could barely make out my freshly colored hair in the low light of the street lamps. There they were, 2 silver streaks already showing through the purple I used to cover up the evidence of my royal lineage. Rage built inside me, but thankfully my cell rang just in time. Grinning wickedly, I peered out the binoculars one last time and saw 2 men leaving the back exit of the salon, dragging 6 poor girls behind them. I pulled my keys out of the ignition, then got out of my car and locked it before creeping down the alley toward my prey. The rain had slowed to a mere drizzle, and the temperature was probably in the low 50s. A quick glance behind me shows 2 huge men, AJ's crew, are ready to jump to action. Foiling human trafficking rings were serious business, but damn, it was fun. These Zion fuckers haven't learned a thing, have they? I mumbled. Inhaling a deep breath, I held out my hands, drawing in power from the elements around me. The energy building inside me was addictive as wind whipped relentlessly through the broken concrete street, growing stronger as I stalked closer to my prey, not even hiding myself anymore as AJ's men followed behind me. Just 10 feet from my target, the bastards stopped in their tracks and started shaking in their shoes. They felt it too, the energy I was summoning. With the stench of dumpsters surrounding us, I inhaled and grinned in spite of it. Staring fiercely, I used my magic to subdue them, compelling the men to obey simply with a focused stare. Gotta love magic. Says the witch who doesn't want to take her throne. Shut up, Triss! I growled before glancing at the girls. Don't be afraid, we're here to help. The kids were scared out of their minds. Their ages ranged from late teen to the youngest not being older than 7. Probably kidnapped from a school playground or maybe even their own backyards. These bastards deserve no mercy, and they get none from me. These children have been rightfully claimed by order of Zion, one of the kidnappers said. You can't own people, you twisted bastards. That's when the Zion mercenaries pulled out guns, like that was going to stop me. Building up my power, I spun threads of air into a massive force in front of me. As my power and energy of the earth and wind circled, light grew from my hands, making everybody around us look like they were glowing. And the Zion's about to shit their pants. The girls will be leaving now. I tilted my head to signal AJ's men. Then they inched forward to not scare the girls. It's all right, lovelies. We're the good guys. You're safe now. Along with my power, I also sent out a healing vibe at the same time, letting the girls know they could trust me. Hurry up, take them. AJ's men grabbed the girls and led them out of the alley as the Zions in front of me raised their guns, ready to shoot, but honestly too afraid to even move. As they should be. With quick movement, I engaged all the energy I'd built up and focused it on my targets. Humans had no idea air could be so deadly. I aimed at target number 1, effectively blowing a clean hole right through his chest. The other guy watched in horror as his fellow Zion crumpled to the ground. Now staring at target number 2, I really couldn't stop smiling. I kind of loved this part. Shame on you, I said as I powered up another blast. May your God have mercy on your soul. I pursed my lips. Or not. With all of my energy, I focused it on his chest like I did the last guy. But he had the audacity to try and run. Stupid human. My aim was off target now, and I missed his heart. It would stop pumping blood, keeping me from making a big mess. Instead, I hit him in his neck. One swift movement and his head was torn from his body. Pints of blood splattered across the buildings between me. Oops. Powering down, I took in the gruesome scene, feeling slightly guilty about the mess I'd left for AJ's cleanup crew. With a shrug, I turned and smiled anyway as I sauntered back to my car. The sky began to drizzle over my head. Then, hopefully the rain would wash away the blood I just left behind. That's why I can't leave, sis. Humans need me. After a short, brisk walk, I reached my car and pulled out my keys. Once inside, I inhaled slowly, still reveling in the whir of power that coursed through my veins. My body still hummed as I turned the key and my Shelby purred to life. Fate could suck it. You can't run from this. Fate will always find you. Still grinning, I basked in the magical high pulsing through my veins. With my Shelby in gear and my hands clenching the wheel, I peeled out onto the streets of the city I had come to love, with no intention of leaving. Watch me. Now we got to Eaton. Caia! Hey, Daniel! The streets of New Orleans were disgustingly humid, like always. It didn't matter if the weather had shifted and there was now frost on the leaves in the morning. As I stepped into the fading sunlight, the air felt like I was walking into a hurricane without the rain. The button-down shirt I put on this morning, pressed perfectly and rolled to my elbows, was starting to stick to my back. My pants, the same style black slacks I wore every single day, were becoming uncomfortable. It's the worst part about this place. The heat. Normally, I could avoid wandering the streets like this. Not now, however. Tonight, I had problems. Hey, boss! We've got trouble! Huffing came up from behind me, but there wasn't a chance in hell I was going to slow down. I know that clink. I brushed off the gnat, hoping he'd vanish back into the swamp he came from. But, sir, if you don't do something, she's going to use the forbidden spell. I know that clink. I hated repeating myself, and the Fae now hurrying behind me knew that. He had known that for the last 50 years, serving as my eyes and ears on the streets of Nola. I'm sorry, sir. I just wanted to follow your orders to the letter. He was shaking now. I felt it even without stopping. Good. He should remember his place. There's a reason he's just a mindless drone, and I'm the king that I am, or rather, the king I should be, if I'd ever take my goddamn place on the throne. Thankfully, the thing in front of me took my silence as his cue to leave before I got angry and slit his throat again.
You know you can't keep scaring off the help.
I honestly couldn't even walk through my own streets without running into at least 3 people that knew me, that wanted to talk, regardless of the fact that I hated everyone in this godforsaken place.
What do you want? What do you want, Mark?
I gotta get my mail out, my Eaton voice right.
What do you want, Marcus?
The leader of the vampire clan in Nola smiled as I stopped to talk to him. He knew I'd never disrespect him like I'd done with Clink. There was a certain modicum of respect I had to pay him, due because of his station. Marcus's white teeth shone against his black skin, and his eyes practically glowed in the darkness surrounding us. Even I had to admit that most humans found him irresistible. He was wearing a suit, and for a second, I was jealous. Vampires didn't feel the heat. They didn't sweat. They didn't suffer the way that the Neum did. Instead of answering my question, he turned down the street in the direction I'd been heading, and I took that as my cue to follow. If he was going to be insufferable, we could at least reach my destination while he rambled. We just passed a group of drunken students when Marcus couldn't keep quiet anymore.
Have you spoken to the girl since she left you?
She didn't leave me, I muttered. Gods, you annoying.
Eaton.
Marcus shifted his stance and looked out at the humans obviously walking past us.
I'm not stupid. There's only one reason you could venture this far into their territory, unannounced and without an escort. The younger one, she's going to cast the spell. It's all over the network. Please, please, my friend, tell me you're going to stop her. The hell it will unleash. Nola might not survive it. I'm not going to stop her, and you haven't been my friend since the day I had to say goodbye to Adrian. I growled at the men, the reminder of the fact that he'd played even a minor role in the misery that I currently found myself in. What do you want?
I'll not ask you again.
You're making a mistake, friend.
He stepped around the bag of garbage on the pavement.
When are mortals going to learn about sanitation? He sneered. So disgusting.
I didn't answer his query because I agreed with him. These hybrids didn't know the blessings they had. I grew up in this world during a time when it was beautiful and pure. Now the air was full of shit and garbage lined the streets. This is like Nola nowadays, isn't it, right? Like, I know. Yeah, been there, done that. But I still love it.
When she finds out, she's going to blame you. There's no chance she'll forgive your refusal to protect her sister.
Refusing to acknowledge him, I walked away while he was still speaking. Marcus's words, although true, didn't paint the entire picture.
I don't owe her anything,
I said. I felt it, though. The weight of Adrian's abandonment. The way she left me to pick up the pieces while she ran off to live a life free of the chaos she had left in her wake. In my entire existence, I'd left very few people close enough to hurt me. Adrian Falcoa had done more than that. She'd walked away from any future we could have had together, leaving all of Nola in my hands.
Adrian's sister is not my concern.
Marcus snorted.
Yeah, that's why you're walking into a hornet's nest in the middle of the night. If you're not going to stop Nia, then why are you here? He stared pointedly at the abandoned building we now stood in front of. It was a large, crumbling structure. Once upon a time, it housed a hospital. Then it was a school. I think at one point it was even a jail used during a time when there was racial discrimination in NOLA. Now it was a poor representation of the majesty that it used to possess. Why they chose this place was beyond me, especially since she had been staying in some posh Fey encampment the past few months. This was witch territory, the poor ones. No idea why they'd choose this location for the ritual. She's casting the spell. There's nothing that we can do to stop it now, Marcus said. Can't you feel the shift in the air? The candomblé power runs strong through her veins, like it does through her sisters. He shifted his face, his nose in the air, and I watched as he shivered from the presence of the powerful spell all around us. The spirits of the dead in the surrounding cemetery shifted. Their attention focused on this building, on the darkness within. Tendrils of pure darkness suddenly arced into the air from the mausoleums that dotted the city. I've got to see for myself, I mumbled. If I'm going to summon her home, if I'm going to ruin our perfectly laid plans, I've got to know that when she invades my mind for the image of her sister falling, she sees it in all of its horror. It was terrible, too. The spell that Nia was using, the one that had the darkest creatures of NOLA emerging from their holes even as we stood there, was one that was forbidden for a reason. Witches. They never listen to reason. Standing out here isn't going to do you any good if your goal is to see that Nia is the one casting the spell. Oh, okay. Standing out here isn't going to do you any good if your goal is to see that Nia is the one casting the spell. Marcus glanced over at the doors in the abandoned building like he would rather do anything than go inside. You don't have to go with me, I smiled. I wasn't looking for company on this expedition in the first place. Good luck, Marcus said quietly. I genuinely hope you know what you're doing. The last thing NOLA needs, or the world for that matter, is the hell that will rain down on us if the Olic Fae return in force. I watched Marcus turn and walk into the darkness. What I was doing was dangerous. I knew that, but I didn't have a choice. There was no stopping Nia, not when she started down this path. And the only reason she had taken this path in the first place was because of Adrian's abandonment. Welcoming the shadows growing around me, I let them vanish me into the night with nothing more than a snap of my fingers. I couldn't infiltrate the witch's building without using a little magic myself due to the protective barrier Nia cast. That's how celestial magic worked. Feeding from my wants, desires, and emotions, celestial magic could do anything I wanted, but it always came with a price. So far into this, are we? Okay. The building was dank and filthy, but I knew exactly where I was going. After all, Nia's power was like a beacon, calling out and demanding that the creatures of the night respond. In moments, I stood in a crumbling doorway behind Nia's makeshift concrete temple. I watched with wide eyes as the tendrils of her spell wound airy spokes across the room, slid and vanished up the walls. Dark smoke began to disperse before dissipating into the air. Like a piece of string floating through a body of water, Nia called to the darkness, demanding its obedience. Nia was a younger version of the woman I'd loved so fiercely. A woman I'd fight a war that I didn't belong in, just for her.
Nia's body went from kneeling to writhing on the cracked concrete beneath her as vines of her evil spell wrapped around her like the protective shield they were meant to be. Even I had to admit the power coursing through the building was impressive as I watched the spell wind its way up from her hands onto her arms, then wrap around her throat. Whispers of the dead echoed in my mind, calling from beyond the veil. Her gasp, the way her body twisted beneath the dim light, spoke volumes. The way her body moved wasn't panicked or trying. The way her body moved wasn't panicked or trying to get away, but filled with pleasure. Nia Falcoa had embraced the dark magic of the Oleg. I'm coming for you, love. My words echoed in the surrounding darkness, muffled by the cloaking spell I had cast so Nia couldn't hear or see me. And while I was intensely interested in watching the rest of the ritual to make sure it was successful, there wasn't time to waste. Turning from the girl on the filthy floor of the abandoned building, I let the shadows engulf me once again. I had no choice. My queen had run from the impending war long enough. It was time to bring Nola's high priestess home. Adrian Falcoa had a throne to claim, and so did I. Okay. I'm not going to get into chapter 2 because it is really long. No, I think I can do it. You guys want chapter 2? Alright, going to Pierce. Now I gotta come up with another voice. Steam rose from my mug, evaporating into the crisp air. I'd spent the morning researching case files, but my concentration kept vanishing too. My desk was stacked with piles of files, each pile a series of cases. This morning I was drawn to a particularly ironic pile, so I started leafing through the grisly pictures of victims. Grumbling from my stomach broke my concentration. Only 7:55 a.m. I had a bacon and egg bagel on the way in about an hour earlier.
Cole, in my office!
The chief's voice was low and serious, which could only mean bad news.
On my way!
I let out a sigh as I stood, not eager to learn what ruthlessness humanity was capable of now. I'd seen far too much already and had no doubt it wouldn't stop at any time soon. I rapped on the chief's door. He looked up and nodded.
Come in. Close the door.
I latched the door and pulled up a seat in front of his large oak desk. As I sat, the chief handed me a new file.
Somebody had a bit of a rough night. Take a look.
Curiously, flipping open the folder to the main picture of the crime scene, the first thing I noticed was how much blood covered everything. Then I noticed a pattern in the blood spray on one wall. A perfect circle.
Holy fuck.
Language, Pierce. The chief snapped. Response drew me back to my presence.
Sorry, sir. I don't know what to say.
Your penance is figuring out what could make this mess. I managed to drag my gaze from the picture.
Own it, Chief.
Thanks, I think. Don't mention it. Except to Falcoa. She in yet?
Haven't seen her, sir. She doesn't come in this early.
He gave a gruff smile of approval. Falcoa's a night owl. She's here when I leave. Still running over those files you two haven't gotten rid of. And as my wife is fond of pointing out, I spend way too long here some nights myself. I knew how his wife felt, since most nights I was usually waiting for Adrian. I didn't like eating dinner alone, and she was my girlfriend after all. Not that I'd ever let the chief or anyone else at the division know that.
She does good work, though, you gotta admit.
I'm a lucky partner. Dual meaning, but he only heard the obvious. Get busy. See if this ties into that other trafficking case. I think there's a vigilante out there. Trafficking? I'd been so caught up in the mess that I hadn't even looked at the rest of the file. I gave the chief a quick "Yes, sir," then returned to my office. I flipped open an older file with a picture of an unsolved murder scene. There was blood splattered on a brick wall in a circle. Someone tried to remove it, but the evidence remained. This wasn't the first time a kidnapper had been executed by something plowing through their body. There was an unmistakable connection between these two executions. No murders. These were still people, and their deaths must be investigated, no matter what I thought about slave runners for a nation of religious hypocrites. Leafing through the grisly pictures of the other crime scenes, I started to see similarities. The circle, obviously, but also the fact that only eyewitnesses were the women and children saved from a life of slavery in each case. None of them could say who or what had killed the traffickers, but most were eager to be of assistance out of sheer gratitude. My phone rang, startling me.
Cole, I'm sending you surveillance footage from the alley of that attack last night,
one of the texts from Data Investigation said.
I marked a couple of times on the video that seemed suspicious. Check it out. Okay, hang on.
I spun my chair around to face my computer, then logged into my email and pulled up the video.
What time? 9:22 p.m., he said. And at 9:50, take a look at the end of the alley, just past the buildings. Got it.
I clicked play and watched the video footage run in quick time. Nothing unusual until a strange blur that was clearly altered with a time lapse through a 20-minute period.
I have another call. I'll check back with you later. All right, thanks.
I hung up. Picking up my mug, the rim touched my lips. I'd managed to drink the entire cup without even realizing. Just as I was getting up to refill, my gaze fell on the screen of my computer. There in the background of the alley was the fender of Adrian's Cobra. Barely visible, but unmistakable nonetheless. Fuck. Adrian had a hobby, for lack of a better word, of stalking the traffickers. Trying to find out more info because she wanted to stop them, obviously. We argued about it several times already. I believed firmly that we had to obey the law, especially since it was our job to enforce it. She countered that these men were breaking our laws and somebody needed to stop them. And then, ever so subtly, she'd tell me to fuck off. I loved her, but she sure could flay me with her tongue if I pissed her off enough. Squinting at the screen, I hoped against hope that I was wrong and that it was some other metallic blue car. What have we got? Adrian's voice made me jump as she stepped into our office. I'd been so engrossed in the image that I didn't even notice my girlfriend and partner had arrived. I sighed heavily and turned to face her. My gaze met hers, and I watched her smile falter.
We got a problem.
I spun around and pointed to her car on the screen, then glanced up as she stood beside me.
This is from a crime scene taken from surveillance footage last night. Recognize anything?
Her eyes narrowed in a way I knew too well. Her left eyebrow arched as her stubborn streak kicked in. She was going to give me hell before this was finished. The street looks familiar. Where was this?
Downtown, not too far from the lake. A couple of streets over from Rio's Grill.
Her eyes met mine, and I didn't see so much as a twitch. Let's go take a look. She grabbed her overcoat, hung on the coat rack next to her desk, and we walked to the car in silence. I sighed as we got into my work car, and I pulled out into the wet streets, driving past the south loop down Roosevelt Avenue. This wasn't going to be a fun ride. Under a leaden sky, heavy clouds threatened a wet investigation. My foreboding grew with each block. Minutes later, our argument started again.
What were you doing there? Please tell me you didn't have anything to do with the murders. I don't like these guys either, but we're not executioners.
Adrian's glare nailed me to the window as I glanced toward her. Don't lecture me. I was at the salon getting my hair colored. Fuming a little, I looked at her hair, yet the same silver streaks she had since she colored them a few weeks ago were still there. Same as yesterday. I exhaled, hoping to ease my mind.
We still have to deal with this. You think I'm the only one who recognizes your car? Al sent me the damn footage. It's a neon sign that you were at least in the vicinity. What the hell are we supposed to do? Ignore this as we investigate?
No, but we can call it a coincidence. I was at the salon. My name's on the damn books. While she spoke, her gaze remained forward, focused on the streets. She clearly wasn't going to tell me today.
Fine. Anything I should know before we get started?
Nope. Driving in silence for another minute, I brainstormed a tactful way to bring up what else was on my mind.
Am I supposed to ignore the fact that you blew me off last night and lied about going home?
So much for subtlety. I wasn't really pissed, just tired of being kept in the dark. I only wanted Adrian to come clean with me. We stopped at a red light then, so I took a break from driving and turned to look directly at her beautiful yet very stubborn expression.
I mean, we're not married. You can do what you want, obviously. But are we okay?
I searched her face, hoping for a glimmer of what was on her mind. Adrian exhaled, then raised her eyes to meet my gaze. I have personal stuff going on. I'm sorry for lying. We're fine. There was a lot more to this than she was letting on, but I guess in the back of my head, I'd always known Adrian wasn't as invested in us as I was. Technically, we weren't exclusive. Although I treated us that way, she'd never said she wouldn't date around, but I'd hoped she wasn't regardless. To lighten the mood, I let a smile creep onto my face, even though I didn't fully feel it.
Okay, if we're good, let's go see what happened.
A few blocks later, I pulled into a space and killed the engine. We got out and walked down the street, passing by the uniforms cordoning off the scene. This wasn't a rough area, so crime scene tape wasn't exactly something the locals were used to. The silence between us felt awkward now, so I started talking about the case.
So far, I know that nobody heard gunshots, and this area isn't usually busy later in the evening. Not sure what was going down, but the chief says human trafficking, which means it's probably Zion related.
What makes you think it's trafficking? What makes him think it's trafficking? She narrowed her eyes.
A uniform found in a van nearby with zip ties and blankets that smelled like they'd been slept in a lot by people who hadn't showered in a few days.
But none of the people were still here? Her eyes grew wide, hopeful they were gone, not that we'd find them. That struck me as odd. It was obvious now I was reading into everything, suspecting her, guilty or not. That wasn't good for a shaky relationship.
No, and none of the businesses were open that late near the scene, so it's really just going to be dumb luck if we can find any eyewitnesses.
She intoned. Tough break, but you can hardly expect Zion to get stupid as much practice as they've had lately. The sky held rain in the distance.
I know. Let's get our take on the scene and go back to the office. I don't want to get poured on if these clouds start letting loose.
Whatever was bugging Adrian, I wish she had just talked to me. After we looked around, we left and drove back to the office. As I pulled into the reserved spot, Adrian's cell rang. She looked at the display and sighed. I've got to get this. Her brows were drawn down. Something was wrong.
Okay, I'll be inside adding to the report. Let me know if you need anything.
She waved me off as she answered the call and walked away, while I went in and sat at my desk, seething. This was aggravating the shit out of me, knowing she was lying, or at least not telling me the whole truth. How do relationships built on lies last? They don't. 10 minutes later, Adrian came into my office and started rummaging through her drawers. It's my sister. I have to go.
You mean back to Nola?
Yeah, she glanced up, her eyes damp with threatened tears. I'd never seen Adrian cry before. Now I was worried. I swore I would never go back there, she muttered while she took off her holster and her badge, then put them in the top drawer of her desk. I'll be right back. I got to tell the chief.
Okay, but Adrian...
She stopped and looked back at me expectantly.
I'm here if you need anything. Understand?
Adrian spent a good 10 seconds staring until a faint smile ghosted onto her face. I do. Thanks, babe. My heart soared.
What are you thinking? A day or two, or maybe a little longer?
She worked out unexpectedly. If I'm gone a week, shoot me. I grinned back.
Deal.
As she trudged to the chief's office, I wondered what her sister could have done to get into that much trouble. Just as suited at Tulane, wasn't she? A few minutes later, Adrian stopped next to me and secretly caressed my shoulder. Feel like driving me to the airport later? I'm going home to book a flight and toss a few things in a bag.
Of course. Want me to bring some food?
No, thanks. I don't feel much like eating.
That bad, huh? What happened?
Just some old family business. Nothing I care to explain today. Her eyebrows were lowered and pain flashed across her face as she stood straight. If you're lucky, I'll never have to. Now we're going from Adrian's point of view. Another rainstorm poured down over Lake Michigan as I sat on the balcony of my loft overlooking the city. Not to say I told you so. Shut up. Is that any way to talk to a dead woman? Now pack your crap and let's do this. Maybe she was right. Maybe there was no way out. Rising to my feet, I started pacing through my loft. Windows open, the rain blew inside. I loved the smell of rain. On any normal day, it would relax me, but today clearly wasn't going to be normal, or any day thereafter. Eaton had the nerve to send me visions of Nia performing that godforsaken ritual. It was horrifying. The sight of my little sister thrashing, the magic circling around her, taking over her body, over everything. For the first time in years, I actually feared for her life. I couldn't believe I was so naive to think Nia would just go to college, or to think that being normal wouldn't ever be enough for her. Although I never suspected she'd be power hungry enough to try an Olak Fae ritual to steal my title. Guess leaving wasn't such a good thing after all. With a sigh, I pulled myself from my back jeans pocket. Killing me, Serena. With a sigh, I pulled myself from my back jeans pocket. Then I tried calling Nia again. After 3 rings, I got her voicemail. She was really starting to piss me off. Hopefully a nasty message from her big sister would do the trick. Nia, this is the 5th message I've left. If you don't want me to come out there, call me back. I shut off my cell and tossed it onto my couch, then started biting my thumbnail. Fuck. I stomped my feet, feeling rage building inside me. Unfinished business surrounded me. I picked up my phone and punched in AJ's number next. It was a call I regretted most. AJ, tell me you have a job for me. Give me a reason, any reason to stay. There are a few slave runners while we're watching, but that one you took out yesterday was the biggest we've had in a while. The Zons are getting sneakier because you keep killing off their men. She laughed. How do you do that? How do you do that? We should meet today. I threw it out there again. Looks like I'll be leaving town for a while, and I don't know when I'll be back. I've been so curious about the voice on the other line. Her partners have told me about her, but not her directly. I knew she was of the magical variety, but that's it. She said her parents were killed. She was kidnapped and taken to Zion. When she was 14, she ran away, and when she came into her powers sometime in her 20s, she decided it was time to fight back. Really? Her tone carried concern and curiosity. Where are you going? There's some shit going down in NOLA. Family stuff. Which stuff? The pitch of her voice rose exponentially. What's with the big words, authors? Everything she never said told me she was interested, but she didn't ask much, and I never pushed. I understood her penchant for secrecy. After all, I had my own secrets. Kind of. I rubbed my head and started pacing the hardwood floors. It's my sister. I thought your sister died. Yeah, so did I grumbled as Triss's haunting laugh echoed through my loft. No, this is my younger sister. One moment, my phone's dying. Cord. What'd I do with my cord? I just had that. Oh, there it is. Under my nose. Boom. Bada bang. And we're back in business, y'all. After I make everybody run. We're almost done here. Woo! I know you like the word, Daniel, but dang. For this country girl. Cord, you need to go there. Alright, you guys still with me? Still with me? Huh. Okay. For whatever reason, I can't see your messages anymore, so we'll just deal with it that way, okay? Whew. You gotta answer me with emojis. No, this was my younger sister. You have another? You never told me much about your family. Same as you. Family's not really something I like to talk about. But you're a Falcoa witch. Yes, my mother's a direct descendant. No paternal connection that we know of. Though Mama Hildy is pretty sure he does. On our... Okay. Let me back up because I read that wrong. But you're a Falcoa witch. Yes, my mother is a direct descendant. No paternal connection that we know of, though Mama Hildy is pretty sure he does, or our magic wouldn't be so powerful. He was adopted, so we can't exactly trace his bloodline. Listen, when you come back from NOLA, we'll try to meet up. But for now, I gotta run. Shit going down in Victoria. Gotta save a vampire friend. Take care and please be careful. Yes, I need you. The line went silent and she was gone. It's time, Adriana. Go home. Shut up, I barked. Hands on my head, I paced again, staring at the high ceilings and glossy cherrywood floors. I loved the way light filtered in through the massive windows at one end of the main area. Damn, I'm going to miss this place, I sighed. Next, I'd call in Tori. No answer. Hildy would know where she was. I called Hildy, who actually answered. Well, her assistant, a younger woman training for the Canavan priesthood. Sorry, Daniel, I screwed that up. You didn't hear my speech. Country girl, I don't know these words. Mama Hildy's, how may I help you? The thick Louisiana accent made me squirm a little. Thankfully, only 5 years in Chicago and mine was nearly gone. Hi, is Hildy in? This is Adrian. Oh my, Adrian. Yes, she's been expecting your call. One moment. Of course she had. One of Hildy's superpowers was divination. Hildy was an older Brazilian woman. She and my mother were close. I was surprised Hildy didn't predict their deaths. Then again, if she knew, she wouldn't have told me anyway. Adriana, why haven't you left Chicago? Hildy's voice trembled with anger. Because this can't really be happening. Have you spoken to your Orisha? I groaned. Of course, Tris has been very pesky. Then you know the answer. This is your duty, child. You can't run from your birthright, no matter what you do to avoid it. So there really isn't any other way around this? No. Iphigenia has made a mess of things. Poor Nia. She hated her full name. Can't say I blame her. As far as names go, I was the only one with even a halfway normal name. She's undergone a ritual not of this world. Fey magic is very strong here, and having her Falcoa roots only makes her that much more powerful. There's a way to reverse it, but you cannot do the spell from Chicago. Come home and talk some sense into Nia before it is too late. Fine, I'll see you soon. I squeezed my eyes shut as I hung up my cell. Now do you believe me? The more Tris spoke, the more irritating her voice became. Shut up, I yelled, dropped the cell phone onto my balcony chair, and let out a really loud scream, which I'm not going to do. You're welcome. Nearly making the windows of my loft shake. With one last look at Lake Chicago, I turned around and went inside to find the only man I'd ever truly loved standing in my front room. Eaton St. James smiled, the most charmingly lethal smile I'd ever seen. One that effectively melted my heart and my panties in one fell swoop. Like no time had passed, my body reacted to him immediately, like it always did. Around 6 feet tall, Eaton's dark hair swept over his forehead, contrasting with his 4 screen eyes and tan skin. His mere presence rendered me speechless. I'd forgotten how much just being near him forced my body to react of its own free will. Since the name Mynae created Falcoa magic, my visceral reaction was one of the reasons witches weren't supposed to get involved romantically with demons. Not that I listened, he was always impossible to resist, and one of the reasons I had to leave Nola. Eaton wasn't good for me. Leaving him in New Orleans was like dying. Yet here he was, the only man who'd ever broken me, standing in my loft. To be honest, I felt like I was dying all over.
Hello, gorgeous,
he said with an enigmatic, who uses that word? Enigmatic smile sucking me in.
I've missed you.
And that's it. Yay! I have 3 people left. I don't know. It's got to be the weather. It has just got to be the weather that's doing this, y'all. So, this is a boxed set called The Prophecy of Magic. Go to Kindle, The Prophecy of Magic, 99 cents, and there's like 20, 30, 40 books. I don't know. There's like seriously more than 20 books, okay? There's like a bunch of gobs and bunches. 99 cents. Go get them. Mine downloaded today. Today's the first day. Whoop whoop. So, tomorrow night, Mia Jones. We got some ranching to do. Some Montana ranching to do tomorrow night. I have to dig out my Northwestern roots now because my daddy's from Northwestern. He's from Washington State, so I have to talk proper So I'll do my best, but don't bet on it. But Mia Jones will be here. I'll be reading her book, Open Fields. And then Thursday night is Handcuffed by Alondra Knight. So, let's get on. Let's get it on. We got a busy month ahead of us. So, all right, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed it. I can't see anything because my phone messed up a while ago. So, I love you all. Happy reading.